This is Scene. We're going to be shining a light on Toronto's hip-hop culture, from its artists, executives, producers, everyone who makes the city what it is. This episode, we're sitting down with Bryan Espiritu, Toronto streetwear designer and founder of Legends League. Toronto's hip-hop scene wouldn't be the same without Bryan Espiritu, homegrown creative, author, and Juno Award-winning music producer, and founder of the internationally renowned clothing brand, the Legends League, which in its 14-year run has become a staple in Toronto's fashion scene. Bryan's made his mark collaborating with brands like PlayStation, Roots, Nike, all while putting his unique touch on everything. Bryan is also the founder of charities like the Heat Transfer and Change for 100, which provide groceries for families in need. If you keep your eyes open, you'll see his work throughout homes, restaurants, and bars all over the city. We're going to sit down and talk about his journey here. All right, I'm here with Bryan Espiritu, the legend of Toronto.
Don't say that.
We're sitting in 9 Camden, the space that you built for the city.
Yeah.
So I'm here to talk about like Toronto and what Toronto imparted on you and how you kind of came to all this.
That's a weird question, man, because I feel like a lot of times when people ask me how things started, they're concerned with, or they're interested in how the career started. And a lot of people don't really know that Legends League started as a blog. And it was me talking about my life. So really, my life is what made me as creative, as candid, as transparent as I've become, because I chose writing over beating people up or whatever the fuck it was. You know what I mean?
So how do you get from there to PlayStation to Xbox? You've collaborated with both brands. How do you come up from there to this?
It's a relationship thing.
Yeah.
It's partially a mitigation of risks thing. Like knowing, I might have to scrap or I might have to do something dumb out of like revenge for something that may have happened to somebody that I care about. And doing those things, but knowing like, don't fucking kill nobody.
Yeah.
And I think the opportunity to see both sides, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't live on Jameson for very long. I was very young. But I do remember moving to Etobicoke and being like, holy shit, like, we're wealthy.
Yeah.
Like, this is like, we live in a fucking castle. Like, we have stairs to go to another floor. Like, we live in a I couldn't believe it. I think a big transitional point was getting arrested and for assaulting a man at college in Gladstone, assaulting a couple police officers, and then being on house arrest, waiting for sentencing, and then suddenly being like, I'm not made for this shit.
Yeah.
Like I remember feeling like I'm not ready to be in prison. That happening made me like, nah, dude, you got to pick the other side.
What does Queen Street West mean to you?
Oh my God. It's hard to think about that and like not picture it how it is now, like cannabis and
nothing else.
Nothing
stores.
Really. Yeah. I needed to be downtown. I just felt like more alive.
Yep.
I got put in St. Mike's when I was like 11 in a youth center that St. Mike's was running. And it was all downtown kids. It wasn't like nobody from fucking Etobicoke. It was downtown kids and Scarborough kids. Stayed there for a few weeks, and I just always felt more at home being down here. Back then it was like Number 6. I don't know, you're probably way too young to know that shop, but Matt Robinson from Claxon Howell had a shop called Number 6. And I would go to Number 6 and stare at the shit that I could never afford and like look at videos that like I wish I could own somehow. And like there used to be like a graffiti expo every year that I started going to when I was like maybe 12, something like that. And it was just like DJs and B-boys and graffiti artists and all kinds of MCs. And it was just like 2 days of hip hop shit, And then there's like a lot of wins that happen on Queen Street, man. We did a crazy pop-up at F is in Frank. Shout out Landlord.
I remember that.
Yeah, and we have people wrapped around the fucking block in the snow and shit, yeah. I feel like what we started doing with the pop-ups and like doing the kind of like out the back of a truck kind of shit, it was really meant to make regular ass people feel like they were doing something illegal, like feel like they were part of something that felt a little bit wrong, I didn't expect it to become what it became, but like, people camping out in the tents and like people sleeping in the rain. And
what was the transition like? What's ideal to Legends League? Like that's what I remember it as, like when you started off and like,
I was at Lounge. Like, years ago. Yeah.
I really looked up to Mark Echo. And I remember, I think I bought like a pair of jeans at Winners on fucking layaway or something like that. And it came with like a tiny little CD.
Yeah.
And it had like 6 songs on it. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what is this? This guy's like thinking in a different kind of way. Complex magazine came out. And then I heard that he was kind of running the show with that. And I'm like, this guy is like really doing shit, like in a different kind of way. And so my thinking was, okay, well, if Mark Echo has this like sort of group of companies, of projects, then what does my version of that look like? And to me, it was like, all right, Legends League will be the overarching thing. And then me as Bryan Espiritu, the designer, in terms of freelancing, doing like the PlayStation shit or whatever, that's gonna be one aspect of it. And then a clothing aspect of it will be Ideal. The thinking was that it was like inspiration-driven aesthetic apparel by the Legends League.
Yeah.
And ideas by the Legends League. And that's where that all came from. But people put Legends League and Ideal in the same thing.
Yeah.
And it became too confusing,
Yeah.
right? Because the logo was so fucking strong that everyone identified that as the clothing line.
Yeah.
So people were like, using them interchangeably, saying like, oh shit, like, can I get another Legends League hat or whatever? And just became too confusing. So I just skipped out and was like, okay, fuck it, it's just gotta be Legends League.
So, we talked about Mark Echo and all the different things he has going on. Is it correct that you're a Juno winner? You won the Junos.
Yeah, so.
How did that come about? Like, that's crazy to me. Like, you
was
won a
weird.
Juno.
I forget about that. Yeah, I totally forget about that. That's like all credit to Rich Kid, Adam Bomb, Tona,
and
Addy.
And you.
I'm like very low on that list of people that deserve credit for that. But, and my old business partner, Bobby McGurk. But essentially, back when I was doing seasons, when I was designing like seasonally and like in shops and stuff like that, there was a theme that I came up with called Naturally Born Stranger. And it was kind of a play on words that like, I've always been othered. I'm always kind of set out as like this different, I don't know where he belongs. Some of the conversation around like the socioeconomic shit, me living in a middle class area, all my friends living in government housing or in, whatever their circumstances may have been. I had mentioned it to Addy, who is a business partner of mine, and he was managing Rich Kid at the time.
Yeah.
And I said, yo, you think Rich would be down to do a beat for this release? And he's like, yeah. I want to say it was Bobby who maybe mentioned to Addy, I think they were living together at the time, that we should get Adam Bomb involved.
Yeah.
Someone else mentioned Tona, and they're like, let's get Tona involved.
Tona's a legend too.
Tona
man.
is a legend. So when they mentioned him, I was like, oh my God, yeah, let's do this.
What is your relationship with Drake? Like, I know you have done some crazy stuff for that camp. Like, that's like a big culture shift too.
So I rapped on the outro of somebody's mixtape, a producer by the name of Amir the Terrorist. He mentioned to me that there was a kid who he thought was like crazy talented, wanted to meet me because he wanted some artwork. And it started there, and then it was like, yo, can you maintain my MySpace? And I was like, all right, cool. So I was doing that for a bit, designed the ATF logo because he was doing All Things Fresh at the time. So that was, I think the ATF logo was the first kind of thing that I did for him. Mad people ended up getting that shit tattooed on them. Oliver approached me and was like, yo, can you design the cover for his new mixtape?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, let's do it. Matt Barnes had shot the photos. Oliver and I sat at the old remix on Sudbury.
Yeah.
And he basically quarterbacked that.
Yeah.
He was just like, yeah, let's put some text together. That's
all Oliver, man.
Yeah. I got mad love for all those guys. Like even when the OVO shit first started on like the fashion tip, like Oliver, Nico, they were always coming here, lacing me and shit like that. Like 40, I got mad love for 40. We worked at Remix together.
Yeah.
The studio was right next to my office and shit.
I think you mentioned on Twitter recently the All Things Fresh logo. It's like that's that's history in the city. It's like there was a culture shift, and like you were part of that culture shift, and like the city's become something different because of the work you put in back then.
Legends League was happening. Will Nguyen was doing Photo Will shit and like the Lost in the Wilderness. OVO was happening. There was just so much shit right in the beginning stages.
Yeah.
And we were all kind of together looking around going, you know, like So Fresh, So Clean was happening. Like it was just a different time. So I would love for something like that to come out, you know what I mean? Where conversations around how that actually felt in real time for the people who were doing it and the people experiencing it, you know, because the community was strong.
That's good. I mean, back when we had a club district still. Back
when
you could go, you know, down the street on Richmond and like be out and like see people and like do things and like, you know.
Totally different time,
you know, different times.
I was handing out flyers for
I was handing out
Ramos.
flyers too, I was handing out flyers for Ramos too. Yeah. But Bryan, I want to say thank you so much for doing this with me.
Of course.
It's really nice chat with you.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it.
Man, I'm excited for what's coming next.
Yeah.
Stuff and like.
Listen, I gotta get you on that.
I'll buy one. Let me know.
Yeah,
Let me know when.
I got
Thank you so much.
All right, brother.